Do we have any public comments on the closed session?
I do not have any speaker cards.
Anybody in the audience like to speak on our closed session item? See nobody coming forth. We will now recess to closed session.
You need to read it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. City Attorney?
We have one closed session item tonight. It's conference with legal counsel for existing litigation. This is for the case of In Re National Prescription Opioid Litigation.
Thank you. We will now recess.
Listen, how are you? Oh, I'm fit as a fiddle, and I'm happy.
Gerald, you good? All right. Our clock is going to change to 6 o'clock at any moment here on our dais. But before we call the meeting to order, because we can't call it to order before 6 o'clock, we just wanted to wish our city manager a happy birthday. 45? See how I flipped that for you, right? We sang in closed session, that was enough. So, and I'm sure he had enough of that too. All right, it is 6 o'clock. We're going to call the meeting to order for the City of Desert Hot Springs, regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as a successor agency to the former Redevelopment Agency Board for Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. This is our 6 p.m. regular session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts,
Present.
Councilmember Gardner,
Present.
Councilmember Nunez,
I am here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pai,
Here.
and Mayor Mattis.
Present. And we have a special guest here tonight. Candace Tarrant. She sang the national anthem recently for us at one of our regional events this last past Monday, so a week from yesterday. She did a fantastic job. She is here to help us celebrate the 4th of July, which will be coming up in a few days, so I'm going to have her come forth, and she's going to sing the national anthem for us tonight, and then we'll stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you.
Please remain standing and join me in pledging to our nation's flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. City Attorney, would you report on closed session?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is no reportable action.
Thank you. Before we approve the agenda, does anyone want to pull any consent calendar items?
Mr. Mayor, this is one item, maybe for just a quick question on the towing agreement, item 14.
Do you want to do the question now, or you just want to pull it?
We could do a question if it's all right with you.
Please.
Does this contract include that the tow company will clean up after the accident and not leave accident debris behind? We got that taken care of?
Yes, sir. Yes, it does.
Perfect, I'm done with that one.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on the consent calendar items? Sorry. Items 8 through 16. See nobody coming forth. At this time, we'll approve the agenda and the consent calendar in whole. Is there a motion?
Move the calendar and the consent calendar.
I will second, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion and a second. Wait for it to come up on the screen. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We're now going to go into public comments. At this time, pursuant to the Brown Act, any person may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the City Council shall not take action on or discuss matters raised during public comment portion of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. Speakers may not yield their time to others without consent of the mayor. All comments are to be directed to the City Council and shall be devoid of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during public comments. So if you're here on an item, you'll wait to speak on that item when that item comes forth. If you're here on general comments, then you may speak on those now. I have quite a few. They're blue cards. And I'll start with Mr. Eddie Johnson. Please note that your 3-minute timer will be on the screen.
Mayor, city council members, city officials. Happy birthday. I had a cake for you, but I think I ate it. Anyway, residents, I have something I would like to read to all. Special thank you to the City of Desert Hot Springs for bringing the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Traveling Wall to our city May 16th through May 20th, 2024, due upon my request by Vietnam Vet Combat Purple Heart veteran Edward G. Johnson and my fellow Vietnam vets. We all say thank you very much. And I'd like to present this to the city.
Thank you so much, Eddie. I'm going to have you give it to the city clerk there, and we'll get it hung up. We really appreciate everything you did for that event. You know, you're honoring us when we need to honor you for everything you've done. Thank you. Donna Wardine?
Good evening. I am Donna Wardine. I've lived in Desert Hot Springs for 25 years. Seen a lot of growth, a lot of fine people serve our city. We are the last remaining resort town in the greater Coachella Valley. How lucky are we? We have good air, we have good people. San Bernardino County has put the kibosh on warehouses in their county. They're no longer putting in a lot of warehouses because of bad air from the trucks, exhaust, and reflection from the roofs. I noticed recently that we have a warehouse going in down by Little Morongo. I hope that it's not the beginning of a greater bunch of warehouses for the same reason. We have really good air up here. Any heat generated, which we all have, any extra heat generated from the warehouse roofs, certainly any exhaust from the trucks serving those warehouses will be blown down valley, where we're trying so hard to keep the air clean, to be known for it. There's enough of that going on down valley. We're still here as a resort town. So in having said all that, I don't ever want us to be known as Desperate Hot Springs again for bringing contaminated air to the greater Coachella Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Matthew? I don't have a last name. Just says Matthew.
Hello. I guess I'm kind of late for the homeless meeting. I got a note. Anyways, not important. Said something about homeless. What should we do? You didn't know. This is always very hard to come up here and talk with a subtle voice because I'm so passionate, and that passion has been with me since I was a baby. What do you think we should do about homeless people? I don't understand how that's a hard question. Give them everything that we have. There's lots of abandoned buildings. So what I would like to ask you is to go home, and at night, when you're comfortable, get on your knees and ask God what you should do for people. And let's not pretend that this is politics anymore. It's all about which side are you on? Which side are you on? I want to know who on this board is a leader and who is willing to stand up. Who's willing to go to jail? Who's willing to die? My father, not on this earth. Why can't this city be like a beacon, if that's the right word, for this whole valley? I don't want to beat a dead horse. But somebody has to stand up. And the drugs are rampant. People are sick on the street. We have so much problems with humanity. And you have been blessed with such an opportunity. The Most High is calling for help. You pray for help from God. Who is going to help him? Who is going to help him? Who is going to help us?
Thank you, Matthew.
And
Brad
whoever
Anders-
laughs,
Brad
I
Anderson?
condemn you.
Hello, Brad Anderson. I currently live in the city of Ransom Lodge. I just wanted to come up and talk to you for a moment. At the Board of Supervisors meeting today, there was a agenda item where they selected or the appointment of a new trustee for the Vector Control District today. So I know the county has been lacking a trustee out there for a while, so it's a good thing. But I'm alarmed. I've been up here for years talking about the Vector Control District and the lack of services that they provide everybody throughout the valley. And you have Mr. Gardner that sits on that board right now, and he may disagree. But having been around that district since 2004, I can honestly say the mosquito issue is not getting any better throughout the valley. So let's go ahead and look at that. I think, and I guess where I'm going with that is I want to just recommend that the citizens of the city look at the Mosquito District Board because they meet monthly, and the same with the Palm Springs Cemetery District. I think there was a little discord at the supervisors meeting today where the chairman kind of came unhinged a little bit, and I've seen that at the Palm Springs Cemetery District too. So I think the more people that maybe monitor those meetings would be better. Maybe keep the decorum where it should be. Anyway, I won't keep you any longer. I just wanted to add that I think everybody in the city should maybe look at these special districts and where your tax dollars are going and maybe hold them accountable for that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Bowen?
Thank you, Mayor Mattis, for recognizing me. I'm Tom Moen, 45-year resident of Desert Hot Springs. I was here when you were born. I couldn't help but feel when I heard that man talking about the homeless in our town. I was the senior funeral director at Rose Mortuary for 25 years. And we took care of a number of homeless people, and it is sad and it is bad. I wish we could do something for homeless people, but how can you do something for someone who isn't willing to do something for themselves? My wife Dolly and I, over the years, have taken in 4 homeless people over the years and help them get back on their feet. But of the hundreds of homeless people I have taken care of, every one of them had a room at their parents' home or their brother's home or their sister's home. But they didn't want to stay there because they didn't want to keep the rules of the house. Even if the only rule was, when we go to bed, you go to bed. Because we need our sleep because we're working. It is extremely sad, and I don't have an answer for the homeless problem. I know we're spending a lot of money for homeless people, and I hope it works. I really do. I just don't know. And that's beside the point, because what I really wanted to talk about today was Councilman Cole Erod. He was here many years ago. He died in an auto accident in the parking lot right in front of McDonald's. Poor guy. But you know, he was brave. He stood in front of the bulldozers and said, no, you're not going to tear down Cabot's museum. He saved it. He bought the property and he operated it. You know, we need more people like Cole Erod. We need more people with a vision here in Desert Hot Springs. This is a wonderful place to live. I chose to live here, planning on living here the rest of my life. But in all, we all have a responsibility to this community to do good things. Anybody can do bad stuff. Anybody can rip things apart. But in the words of Theodore Roosevelt, you need a damn fine carpenter to build a good barn. Well, let's all be damn fine carpenters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moen, and you made me a lot younger than I actually am. I was actually 7 years old when you moved here.
Okay.
But thank you for thinking I'm only 45. Gerald McKenna?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gerald McKenna. I'm a resident of Desert Hot Springs. I've lived here since 2006, and I love living here. Currently, I serve as a member of the Board of Directors of the Desert Water Agency. I represent Division 2, which is all of southern Desert Hot Springs and some of the corporate area. Last year, I came and told you that our board had reduced the property tax assessment from 10 cents per $100 value to 8, and that would save someone who has a $500,000 property $100 a year. And this year, more news, we're reducing it further to 7 cents, saving you another $50, and you get to keep the 100 as well. So a piece of good news for you. Second piece of good news is we yesterday started refilling the aquifer under the city from the Worsley Road facility, heavily damaged by Tropical Storm Hillary last year, but it's back in action. We expect to put 5,000 acre-feet of water into that facility during this month, which will go a long way to, shall we say, repairing a historical deficit. Third piece of news is that you're welcome to visit our facilities. We will have a public tour in the fall, but anyone who needs a private tour, some of you have done, I'm available to help you get that organized. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna, for your service. Thank you for saving us some money. Joseph Senega? Did I say it right? Cienega. That was close. Joseph is the last blue card I have wanting to speak on items not on the agenda. This is the second call.
Okay. Hello, City Council members and citizens of DHS. So I wanted to talk, I know this is a bit of a sore subject because we're trying to tackle the homeless issue. But I wanted to talk about the spending that took place at the Hub Homeless Shelter. Now, of course, I'm not opposed to the shelter being built. I'm more concerned about the lack of transparency on how the money was spent renovating it. There was a report promised by the city manager months ago, but we haven't seen it, and the council is going on recess till September. So I feel we're owed an itemized report on what was spent before, or we're just owed an itemized report. You reported that the city bought the building for $575,000, but you spent another $629,000 to renovate it. If I'm not mistaken, that's more than what you bought the property for. And I just feel, my personal opinion, that the renovations seemed a bit too expensive. I looked at all the past city council meetings, and there was no record of the spending being voted on, this additional spending. Thank you, and I look forward to the report.
Thank you for your time. I encourage you to make an appointment with our city manager's office. I have no other public comments on blue cards. Would anyone like to speak in public comments on items not on the agenda today? Final call. We will close public comments and move to the city manager's report.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just a couple of items here before I turn it over to Ms. Wilms. So the council is aware, staff is monitoring the tenant lease with Desert Healthcare District to ensure our interests aren't met, and potentially a future agenda item will be forth to the council to put the council's desires on record, as the healthcare in our community is very, very important. Also, too, as the council is aware, July 1st, which is yesterday, was the beginning of our fiscal year. So our new spending plan, our budget, is now in place. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Wilms.
Thank you. And then as far as staff updates tonight, we're going to have Jeffrey Buckheim provide a financial update to the council.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. So for the financial highlights for fiscal year 23-24, as of 6:30, these are, let you know, these are pre-closing numbers. This is preliminary. The finance department is going to be accruing revenues and expenditures back to last fiscal year. So just let you know, these are not the final numbers. As of right now, we have revenues of over 29 million, which is at 88% of the budget, and expenditures at over almost 32 million, which is 93% of the budget. We should be receiving, we have one more month of dispensary, occupancy tax, utility users tax we collect for June, as well as some true-up costs for deposits from the county for property taxes and from the state for sales tax. As I'm also showing up here some of our major revenues, preliminary revenues. It's already showing that we've exceeded budget in our property taxes and engineering fees and business license, and we're pretty close on some other ones, and a few others that we are a little bit behind. And that is my report.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And then the last update is to remind everybody that this Friday we'll be holding our 4th of July celebration at Mission Springs Park. Come on down. It will be hot, so bring water, bring chairs. Fireworks will go off around 9:15. And because we're doing that celebration on Friday, we will not be doing Friday nights on Pearson. We want everybody to enjoy the festivities at Mission Springs Park. And that concludes our updates.
4th of July on 5th of July.
Correct.
Everybody
And
remember that.
just going to say this. The reason we do this is not because the city doesn't have money. It's because there is one firework vendor that deploys fireworks all throughout the valley. And unfortunately, the 4th of July, you have to book that sometimes years in advance. And so Palm Springs and Palm Desert pretty much have a lock on the 4th of July. And so we elected to do it on the 5th because it's a Friday, and we felt that that would best serve the community. So.
And it's a great show, and it does save the city a little bit of money doing it on off days, so can't wait for it. All right, no other reports from the city manager's office. We'll start with the council member reports. Mr. Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City manager briefly mentioned the tenant agreement with Desert Healthcare District, and I'm sure other council members have concern over that. I spoke with the director of Desert Healthcare District today to get his take. I also spoke with Ted Weil and Rancho Mirage, who's their city's raising concerns about this. Basically, the contract that Desert Healthcare District wants to enter into with Tenet would give them the right to refuse funding to other providers. So, for example, if Eisenhower Health wanted to open up an Eisenhower urgent care, like they have down in Palm Springs, and they were to go to Desert Healthcare District to get those funds, Desert Healthcare District would be prevented from providing that money to Eisenhower, and Eisenhower may want some type of subsidy. The problem with that is those are our tax dollars that go down to fund Desert Healthcare District. So the question is, does a private entity contracting with this district get to dictate how our tax dollars are used? So I hope I explained that clearly, but, and I know everybody else is up here is in tune with this issue. We're going on recess until September. I'd sure like to see something come forward on this before then with a resolution from our city. I've made up my mind on this issue, but somehow I'd like to see us address this before it's too late, because they're going to have a vote on this contract. So I'm just leaving that as an open question and a suggestion, and I'll move on with the rest of my comments. City manager mentioned we've gone into our fiscal year, and what I would really like to see if we could get, as I was looking over the budget numbers, I noticed that we have different types of revenue streams. We have the regular taxes that comes in, but we also have what's called one-time money, grants and things like that, and fees. And you never want to budget on one-time fees, but if you look at your historical receipt of those one-time fees, you could pretty much figure out what you can count on and what you can't for planning. So I asked the city manager if the next time we take a budget look, if not only just our regular income comes in, but I would like to see a percentage of our income that's represented by the grants that we get in. And by way of example, Sunline, where I sit on the board, only 5% of its revenue comes from bus fares, the CNG gas stations, and advertising. The rest of it is all grants and fees. And so if you figure that's, there's an agency running 95% of its budget off of technically one-time money, which is grants and other benefits. So I'd just like to see if we could get that worked in whenever we have a budget meeting here. Southern California Association of Governments, the big news up there was there's some restored funding with the governor's budget. There was millions and millions of dollars, maybe more than $1 billion on hold, because nobody knew what the governor was going to do since we have this budget crisis. So we got a letter from Comey Asgis, the executive director up there, telling us that good news, there's a whole lot of stuff released. I'm not going to go down the entire list. It's a long list. $1 billion to the homeless housing assistance funding, lots of transportation money freed up. So that's good news if you want to get those projects going. At Sunline, I attended Sunline. We renewed the contract with the Teamsters. They represent some of the administration and the operating staff, the bus drivers, and it was a much smoother negotiation, went very well, and there was a little bit of difficulty the last round. This time it went well, so that was good. And then we approved the operating budget. Sunline operates on $50 million. And we also approved our short-range transit plan, which is needed to fund the agency for 5 years. You got to tell people, what you're going to do in the next 5 years so you can get those grants that I was talking about. I attended Cabot's board meeting. The presentation of its budget was the big issue there. But they're also talking about expanding their efforts on grant receipts and grant funding to fund Cabot. So I sit there as the liaison for the council. Attended the CVAG General Assembly. The mayor got some nice kudos from the rest of the valley, and that was a heck of a poem. I don't know who made that one up, but that was a very good poem that they read honoring you.
That was artificial intelligence.
Really?
Tom stated that he wrote it for a half hour, which was, he fibbed a little bit. He actually put 5 minutes worth of comments into it and it wrote itself.
Wow. Well, it was very, very good. So you didn't have to let on. We would have, anyhow. So your efforts down there at CVAG in the last year were worthy of whatever AI said. And so that was good. And then I continue to have the resident concerns. I know I'd called in a call to city management on Sarita Drive, a homeless camp down there. I hadn't heard back anything yet, so if you get back to me, I just want the people know who they contact me. I tell them I'll check with staff. We'll get something moving. We are making efforts on this. They seem to be popping up almost as quick as we can deal with them, but staff has been very diligent in dealing with these. I know if you have one next door to you right outside your bedroom window in a vacant lot, it's very unnerving, but staff has been diligent on that. So I don't need an answer now. If I could the people, I told them I'd ask you, and I'm going to call them tomorrow with the answer, so if you get back to me, that'd be great. And then I see over on First Street, we have a rather significant encampment that's come up, and maybe we could take care of that. Just two things. Eddie Johnson, thanks for your efforts on the moving wall. That was really nice. And then I just wanted to comment on what the two quick comments and reply on the public comments. Donna Wardine on the warehouses. if we ever get the situation where we're turn those into fulfillment centers where we're getting all the retail sales tax, we're going to be wanting those warehouses because it's millions and millions of dollars coming into the city. And she's shaking her head no. But, okay, well, I got you. And we'll have them run electrical buses in and out, or electrical trucks in and out. But either way, I just want you to know that's one consideration. But right now, I understand your concern. The warehouses coming in, we're getting all the impacts, and we're not getting the money, so we need to work on that. And then Joseph Cienega, request for the public report. I do remember that we were promised one for the public. Will we be getting that in September, or when will we see a report on the spending at the hub? That's the last thing that comes to my mind since that was brought up. So do we know when we'll have a report on that?
Yes, I will communicate to the council on that action.
Okay, I know we've had some information, but I think the promise was to the public to have something on that, as was brought up tonight.
It is complete.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to echo the comments of my colleague, Mr. Betts, on the Desert Healthcare District. It is very concerning, that clause in the contract on the non-compete clause. Councilmember Pai and I attended their last board meeting, and we had a discussion about that, and it's still very concerning. We are in a healthcare desert up here, and we need to have more facilities here, and hopefully that provision in that contract can get worked on. The Desert Healthcare District will be finalizing that contract in the next couple of weeks. So to the extent that anybody else in the public is concerned about that, I would certainly urge you to reach out to the Desert Healthcare District Board and let them know the same thing that both Councilmember Betts and I mentioned, because it is very concerning. We need more health care up here. Those are our tax dollars, and if Eisenhower or DAP or somebody else wanted to put a facility here and went to Desert Healthcare District for funding, they can be turned down if tenant says, no, they're competing against us. So we need to have that. So to the extent that you're interested in that, I would encourage you to reach out. We had a Greater Palm Springs Convention and Visitors Bureau board meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I want to show a commercial that we did in conjunction with them for Desert Hot Springs. Gerald, you want to play that?
In the desert, adventure begins the moment you step outside. Surrounded by a landscape painted by nature itself, Desert Hot Springs is a city full of renewal and discovery. An escape as unforgettable as the ones you share it with. Plan your summer getaway at visitdeserthotsprings.com.
Isn't that something? It has to be one of the coolest commercials ever, right? It's going to be airing on TV and cable in Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, and Seattle. I just continue to be so impressed by the work that Visit Greater Palm Springs does, and I'm not saying that just because I'm chairman of the board, but because they do absolutely amazing work. In addition to the commercial, we adopted our budget for the next year there, and we're noting that TOT and TBID are both flat this year across the valley, but TOT is up just a skosh here in DHS because of our spas that you saw there. However, it's down in our short-term vacation rentals once our new restrictions were adopted. Overall, we have approached pre-pandemic levels in tourism across the valley. Tourism is up in Desert Hot Springs particularly, and the impact tourism has on the valley economy as a whole is $9 billion, that's with a B, $9 billion annually, making it the largest segment of our economy and exceedingly vital to our region and our city. We attended and spoke at a hearing held by the Bureau of Land Management on the proposed Chuckwalla National Monument, offering support from our city, which was the first to adopt a resolution supporting the proposed national monument, as well as Visit GPS, the Coachella Valley Mountains Conservancy, and the Coachella Valley Conservation Commission, all of which have had resolutions or letters of support for the monument. 95% of the public comments there were in support of the proposed national monument, which is moving along nicely, and with any luck, we'll see President Biden declare it a national monument by the end of the year. And speaking of Chuckwalla, I was asked to be the tour guide on a bus tour of the proposed monument. It was put on by Friends of the Desert Mountains. It was a unique bus tour. Ms. Pye, who joined me on it, will attest. It was in honor of LGBTQ Pride Month. We recreated the iconic movie Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. You've seen that, complete with a group of drag queens who entertained everyone at each stop after I bored them to death with facts and figures and flora and fauna and bits about history. So thanks to Mayor Pro Tem Pye for joining me on that. Coachella Valley Conservation Commission met. We adopted our budget for the next year as well, but not before spending around $500,000 on additional land purchases within the city limits of Desert Hot Springs, including a huge parcel along the Wass north of Dillon Road between Palm and Little Morongo, which will now be held in conservation, and hopefully in the years ahead will form a linear park throughout the city. Lastly, the Mosquito and Vector Control Board, nothing particular to Desert Hot Springs, but I do want to caution people, the number of mosquitoes in the East Valley particularly, or that have been testing positive for West Nile virus is up, so do take precautions, especially if you're visiting the East Valley or the Salton Sea areas. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. Mr. Nunez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I have, so we are this week in a heated advisory for very hot weekend. So I wanted to see if we have a dedicated areas for cooling station and see if you can answer those questions. And after that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, so there's a couple of locations for our community to be aware of. The Desert Hot Springs Senior Center is the designated cooling location. I believe the Desert Hot Springs Library is also a designated cooling location. And then we do also have the hub that is available for any of our unhoused individuals. There's a cooling center there as well with access to resources.
Okay, and I think the chief was going to open up his office also.
Yes, that too.
You don't want to go to the chief's office. If you're in the chief's office, you're in big trouble. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, on 6/8, I attended the Little League closing ceremony, and I'll let the mayor talk about this, but the kids are still doing things, even though they had the closing ceremony, and I don't do sports, so I'm going to ask you to talk about that. 6/10, I met with Shane Masur, who's government relation manager with Southern California Edison, and I was able to connect him with Rotary, Diversity, the Senior Center, and the Elks regarding sponsorships and scholarships. On 6/12, CV Homeless Committee toured the Navigation Center in Palm Springs. It's not complete, but they did give us a tour of it, and that's where we had our meeting on that day. On 6/12, I also attended Do the Right Thing, and we had two people. One is Enzo Ortiz with Bubbling Wells Elementary School. And this kid, even though he's in elementary, he's a firecracker and he's doing the right thing. Also, Nadia Barcas Juarez, Desert Springs Middle School, she's a firecracker also, and where her head is, she's already in high school with where she's going. So it was my privilege to be there with them doing the right thing. Also on 6/12, the police department did their open house, and I will tell you, it was the drones and the motorcycles that the kids were most excited about. On the 15th, I attended the Airport Commission. The Airport Commission is doing a lot of stuff with strategic planning and operating future. There's a subcommittee, and they report back to the Airport Commission, and we are going with where the parking is going to be, new terminals, and it's a big deal, and try to keep the airport in its same area, same historic value. So it's good to be on the commission at this time. On 6/20, I visit the hubs, and Bridge Over Better had been looking for this lady for some time. They had helped her. She lost her husband, who was the breadwinner, so she and her husband were homeless. And they finally found her, and she's fine. She was in long-term care, but they brought her to the hub anyway. And they had her go to one of the medical clinics that are there. I'm going to say thank you to Bridge to Better. The lady needed an ambulance, and she needed to go to a hospital. And I'm thinking, if Bridge to Better had not been looking for her, just because they never saw her, where would this woman be? The ambulance came without Bridge to Better, who knew to look for her. She's one of those people that needed help, and she got it. On 6/20, the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce did their business awards, and also the different cities' board of directors. And I got to introduce our board of directors, and they are Jeffrey Holman, Vicky Patel, Irene Rodriguez, with Cabot's Museum, Randy Marriott, Brian Appleby, Marion Champion with Mission Springs Water District, Dory Peak, and Amber Pozo. And it was a good event. On 6/23, Reverend Dr. James B. Baylard, First Community Baptist Church, his congregation honored our fire department, Councilman Raul Ruiz, Habitat of Humanity, and myself for service to the community. 6/21, we all attended the CVAG assembly, so I'll let others talk about that. I attended 6/25, Lift to Rise, their annual celebration, where they talked about what they had been doing and what they're going to do. And the rest of it is about transparency. At the last council, Mr. Anderson questioned the rate increase and transparency of the board of the cemetery district, which also services this community. The increase was posted, as I had said, it would be transparent, was posted in the Desert Sun as a public hearing notice on June 26th. And our next meeting will be July 10th. I'm sorry, our next meeting will be July 11th at 2 p.m. And the second public notice will be in the Desert Sun on July 10th. The raise was actually over 8 years, and it totaled $67.37. Again, I'm only doing transparency, and it's not an agenda item. On June 13th, I returned a call of Councilmember Betts. He stated that the council voted no on the mitigation for commercial business, and that he voted yes. And he asked, did the council, is this what the council did? I told him I can only explain my no vote. I could not explain the no votes for other council members. He asked me again and said, didn't one of the council members say this? I had to repeat, I know why I said it, and I didn't know why the other members did that. And so the meeting, the conversation ended with Betts said that he would try something else, and the call ended. On that day, the Public Safety Commission met at 6 on June 13th. Councilmember Bett's appointment to the commission was that of vice chair, who conducted the meeting. He attempted to place a new subject on the agenda regarding panhandling. He then tried to make the subject an emergency item. He attempted to call for a special meeting. He was told by the city clerk that he could not do this. However, he told the city clerk that he had the same privilege as the city council, and that city clerk reported to them. Then he attempted to bring up the police budget, which had already been before the agenda, but he wanted to bring it back. He looked at his watch and then told the city clerk, please pull down the 3-minute rule and let the people talk when they want to talk. City council sets policy. Staff tries to do the best they can to do that. So when Councilmember Bett said he would find another way, the agenda, wanting to bring the agenda about panhandling, brings back the idea about commercial funding and mitigating that. Other things that happened could not happen. And if I'm wrong, you can look at YouTube for the Public Safety Committee. But we as council members, first in setting policy, we are not allowed to appoint to the Planning Commission or to Public Safety a drill down when we appoint people. We can't drill down things that we don't get to happen. That's not a second person. We're not supposed to up here get an email because only the 5 of us are supposed to be talking. So if I don't tell you this transparency, which no one else knew about on this council, then acquiescence of that, I'm saying that it's okay. It is not okay. And frankly, I think Councilman Betts owes an apology to the person he appointed. To the city clerk, I did apologize to you, and I want to do it in public. You said to me, it's okay. It is not okay. You do not report to us. We have 2 people that report to us. That's the city manager and the city attorney. That's it. You report to the city manager. I can't imagine the city clerk with the things that he has to do reporting to us and then have his job on the line, because does he report to us or does he report to someone else? That's why he reports to the city manager. I know that the city manager is having the clerk do a comprehensive information with Planning Commission and Public Safety. I would like the city manager to also include hierarchy and who reports to whom. And based on that, thank you, Flo. I'm done.
All right. So I don't have a lot. I'll try to get through my comments as quick as possible. I do want to mention Little League. We did have our closing ceremonies here in Desert Hot Springs for our Little League season. So Little League tournament then starts, and kids in different age groups, players in different age groups, baseball and softball, get to move to tournament. Desert Hot Springs hosted the machine pitch tournament. It just ended this past Sunday. Unfortunately, Desert Hot Springs didn't win. Ukaipa won. But it was a fun tournament, and I want to thank all our city staff who's helped participate in that and all the city volunteers who helped participate in our Little League season this year. We do still have tournament going on within our district and then soon section and soon state, but I believe all the Desert Hot Spring teams are out. We might have one still playing, but I believe most of them are out. Also met with the Edison rep for the area. It was good to know him, get to know him, and understand the issues that Edison's are having moving forward. The Riverside County Transportation Commission, we're all appointed to many commissions and committees. I sit on the Transportation Commission for the city in Riverside, and unfortunately I woke up that morning with a terrible eye infection and tried to get outside, but the sun was too much for me to drive to Riverside, so I had to watch the meeting online and I wasn't able to participate. But nothing directly pertaining to Desert Hot Springs, except for they opened the public hearing for the budget a meeting before that, and then at that meeting they approved the budget. So in Riverside County this year there'll be a just under $1.6 billion budget for transportation in Riverside County. There is portions of that that come to our city and our region. And I always like to report this, only 1.5% of the $1.6 billion is actually spent on staffing at Riverside County. So as much money as they can put back into transportation in our county is, and that's really great to know. Let's see. Also, I was able 2 weeks later to attend the Riverside County Transportation meeting for budget and implementation, which is a committee I sit on, nothing directly pertaining to the city of Desert Hot Springs. Oh, there was one other item that was discussed, and this is maybe something that the public would like to know, is that Riverside County Transportation is going to hold satellite centers throughout the county, and one will be held in Palm Desert. So if you don't want to travel to Palm Desert, you can look at the agendas for Riverside County Transportation, and there's going to be a satellite center opened in Palm Desert for meetings. So if you wanted to attend, you could. The Coachella Valley Association of Governments, it's one of the JPAs that we all sit on in multiple different committees. I'm appointed to the executive committee, and Desert Hot Springs rotated into the chairmanship last fiscal year. So I finished my chairmanship this last week, and last Monday we hosted the annual meeting here in Desert Hot Springs at the Health and Wellness Center for the whole Coachella Valley. And CVAG, I stepped down. There was some nice things said. I really appreciate that. But one of the great things that was reported is that we've been working very closely with the city of Palm Springs, and it's something that's on all of your hearts when you try to travel to Palm Springs, and Indian Canyon is continuously closing. If you have a chance, you can watch a presentation by the Coachella Valley Association of Governments, Tom Kirk, on our presentation period, which was the last meeting we had, and he talks a little more detailed about that. But the region has received $50 million in state funding. The overpass that's being built now has already been programmed and paid for, and that's going over the Union Pacific, but there'll be more of a bridge, and there's engineering structures to try to get the sand up and over the street. And we received $50 million, another $7 million from SCAG, and then there's another earmark put in by the federal government for $5 million. So we're getting closer to the number. They're engineering, designing. We're less than 2 years away from hopefully construction on that once they finish the environmental process, which is not an easy task. Also wanted to, as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year, I always like to watch these numbers, and our finance director or admin director, what's your title there, Jeffrey? Administrative Services Director. One of these days I'm going to get someone's title right. But he reports at each one of our meetings, so if you're ever interested to know where our budget lies, I kind of caught it quickly today. I always like to look at the tax revenues and see where we're at. So when we do decide to plan for our next budget, we're looking at some of the revenues going up and where we're planning. I want to give a shout out to all our hoteliers. Our TOT is one of the top tax revenues right now. It's just under $4 million, and that continues to rise each and every year. So that means more visitors are coming to Desert Hot Springs. So it's great to know, and you have great videos being put out like that that helps attract those visitors to our community. So if you see visitors in our community, welcome them. They're putting tax revenue back into our economy here in Desert Hot Springs. And then the vehicle licensing fee, triple flip, is just over $3.5 million. Cannabis was interesting because if you Combine the dispensary and the cultivation, you're at about 3.5, but we've only collected 75% in one and 60% in the other, so there's more revenue to come. So it'd be interesting to see how that floats out, and then some of our taxes are around 2.8, 2.5, so, and most of those are 100% collected already. So it'll be interesting to see how we finish this fiscal year, but very good to see some of these numbers are up. And then my last comment, Joseph, I know you spoke about the hub there. The city council released any information that was in executive session for the city manager to use in public at any time. So I'd encourage you, I don't think there was ever a report said we were going to have a physical report. There was a report by the city manager to the city council as requested, and any information is transparent and open for you for public view. You just need to make an appointment with his office, and if you're not comfortable with that, please call me. My cell phone's on my business card out there. I'll get you an appointment. All right, with that, we're going to move to our agenda.
Mr. Mayor, could I just take a quick moment of personal
We're not going
privilege?
to go back and forth tonight, no.
I just wanted a quick
I'm
response.
not going to allow it tonight. So
Okay, thank
we're
you.
going to move on to
Appreciate
public
that.
hearing. Item number 2 is a resolution affirming the report of public nuisance abatement cost and placing them on the tax roll. Before we get the report, I know quite a few might be here for that. You received a notice from our city on a lien that might be going onto your property. And so if you are here, you're not comfortable coming to the mic and speaking about this, we're going to have, who's going to be in the back waving their hand? Right back there, all the way in the back there. If you want to speak to that person before you come, I'm going to keep the mic open once we open the public hearing so that you can come up and speak if you like. We'll ask you to state your address or the property you're representing and speak how you feel. But if you wanted to talk to someone on our city staff first and try to solve the issue, you're more than welcome to go back there and talk to them first. So we'll leave that open. Mr. Buckheim.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Before you is a resolution ordering confirmation of special assessment against parcels of property in the city to recover costs spent by the city for public nuisance abatement. The city administers the public nuisance abatement program for properties that are not compliant with the city's municipal code. The city then contracts with specialists to bring these parcels into compliance and then bills the owners of the property to recover these costs. If payment or other arrangements are not made, the city is required to place a lien on the properties to recover these costs. As a part of the lien process, the city is holding a public hearing before the city council to take comments from the property owners. Once this resolution is approved, staff will forward the adopted resolution to the Riverside County Treasurer Tax Collector. We have staff from Code Compliance as well as Web Municipal Finance to help answer any questions.
Appreciate that. And then we're going to have questions for staff at this time before we open the public hearing. Does anybody have any general questions to staff before we open the public hearing? Correct. This is city council time, I'm sorry.
Thanks. So do we have any banking entities that are on this list? Like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or any of the national lenders?
I did notice one property that had Shell Point mortgage on it as one is listed. Any of the others, I don't know.
Okay, so my question is, we at one time, I don't know if we rescinded it or if we ever undid it, but for the banking properties, this came in at the time of the foreclosures. They were kicking people out of their homes and then not taking care of them, turning the neighborhoods into blight. And so we implemented a $1,000 a day fine against those banking institutions. Are we still adhering to that? Do we still have that as our current ordinance?
So we amended the ordinance a few years ago. It's a lot more robust. It includes commercial properties. And so the focus is really vacant property registration and those requirements such as boarding and painting the boards a light color of the building, things like that. We haven't run into any homes that are in foreclosure where we're applying these kinds of $1,000 a day violations in quite some time.
Okay, so we aren't running into that yet. Hopefully we don't.
We have a couple of commercial properties currently that are on the list that have vacant property violations.
They bank owned, like national bank?
No, they are not bank owned.
Okay, all right. So it's still there.
It's still there.
I haven't run into that, and hopefully we're not going to run into massive foreclosures again.
No, typically if a property is in some sort of monetary foreclosure, we'll work with the lender because what's going to happen is they're going to resell. And so we usually just, give them the grace and opportunity with an extension to do so. It's only
Okay.
when they're not responsive that we would, apply those types of
All right, well, those are
Fines.
different times than now, but it was pretty bad out of hand then, so I'm not encouraging that we give them too much grace period. Thank you.
I had a question, Mr. I don't know if this is the appropriate time or not, but Christina, do we have repeat offenders that from previous years on this list again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I looked through the list today and I did see a couple commercial properties, but most of it residential.
Correct.
All right, if there's no other questions, we're going to actually,
I do. There's some amounts here that are really huge. 169,000, 159,000, 248,000, 564,000. These appear to be on residential properties on
Those
6th Street.
the two large ones are the Sahara.
The Sahara. Got it. Thank you.
we're going to move to opening the public hearing at this time. Anyone can come forward and you'll have up to 3 minutes. Please state the address that you're speaking about and your name.
Beautiful ladies, handsome gentlemen, Mr. Frank, happy birthday one more time. I'm sorry, I'm like little bit stressed. This is like a movie for me. I'm an actor, like I was in movie like all my life, but this is different movie for me. I'm so sorry, I'm a little bit stressed. So situation like this.
I'm sorry, sir, could you state your name for the record, please?
I'm sorry?
State your name for the record.
Oh, my name is Arthur. My last name is Sukyasyan.
And the property you're representing.
Property is 66961 Verbena Drive, Desert Hot Springs, California 91202.
Thank you very much. Verbena.
Hear my heart. Okay, so situation like this. 2 years ago, I moved to Florida because of my health, and on that time, when I pay my permit fee, I'm sorry, for license fee, that was $1,200 something, and I noticed that there should be $1 million liability insurance for rental houses. After that, I get a ticket, but the ticket was sent to my previous address, to California address, and there was like 3 tickets. And after that, I received 4 tickets in my Florida address. After that ticket, I stopped my I take out Airbnb, my house from Airbnb, and when I call to city, I noticed that there is 4 tickets, but previous 3 I didn't receive. So in my license, I put my new address, my physical address, but the 3 tickets was sent to previous address. Is there any way that we can waive that 3 tickets? Like I don't have in my life even any driving ticket, like asking if it's possible, like to.
So you're requesting from the city council to waive all the fees?
I'm sorry?
Are you requesting from the city council to waive all the fees?
If it's possible, I appreciate that. If no, like I can pay the last ticket after that. When I get that ticket in my physical address, I stop my, I take out from Airbnb. If it's possible, I will appreciate that.
Okay, we'll take your comments under consideration. I would encourage you to go out and talk with our staff first, and then come back and
Can we get an amount of this?
What's the
I
amount?
can't
I
find
believe
it.
it's 22,501.
Thank you. You found it on the list. Thanks.
Is that correct, Christina? You said 5,000, 22,000?
22,501.
Okay. I'd encourage you to talk to our staff outside, and then we'll discuss this once we finish public comments.
Thank you so much.
Next.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, my name is Stephen Gillenhammer. Property address is 66229 4th Street in Desert Hot Springs, California 92240. So this is regards to, I'm a real estate investor and developer. We develop mainly in Texas, but shifting toward California. I have short-term rentals and long-term rentals throughout Southern California, one of them being in Desert Hot Springs. I purchased this property about 3 years ago, and I went through the process of getting a lot of tenants who brought a lot of homeless people into the property, a lot of drugs, constantly having problems with the police, constantly getting violations, and trying to get that out, get them out. Took 6 months and the court system, and finally got them out. Got some other tenants in who were a little bit better, but still to maintain the property. And over the course of the last 2-3 years, I've been getting a series of violations and fines. And unfortunately, a lot of them, when responding to the city, I actually met with the city compliance director and with another Christina, and also with Linda Human, who was the officer who gave me citations, and met with them to work out a plan to get all the corrections done. So I can show proof everything is complete except with exception of getting a permit for permitting a back unit that I didn't know about, because when you buy properties off market, they're as is and you don't know. So I've sent the problem is I have a lot of going through the planning, engineering, architectural, all that takes a lot of time. So I showed the emails with my drafter and architect saying, hey, what's taking so long? I'm sending all the emails to Linda, confirming that they received them to know that I'm trying. And everything has been complete. I have pictures I drove by today. Everything is in compliance. I finally got a third set of tenants in there who's been, so far, been good for the last month and a half, and been taking care of the property. I'm trying to invest in the city, but it's hard to when I'm getting tons of violations, tons of this. When I'm trying to get work with the tenants, a lot of them don't want to work with me, don't want to let me on the property. There's pit bulls, there's dogs, so it's difficult to get a lot of the mattresses and all the trash on the property cleaned up in the 16 days that they gave me in a lot of these, or 19 days. It's difficult, it's very difficult. And then, in addition, there are people coming and dropping off dirty mattresses, dropping off trash in the front yard, and I'm getting pictures of that. I literally had my tenants tell me someone just dropped 2 dirty mattresses off. I called the city to help me, to send someone to pick it up, and no one responded, no one came. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to throw this all at you.
What
but
are you asking of the city council today?
I'm asking the city council to remove the fines that are related to that property.
All fees?
Yes, please.
How much total?
It's $5,000 today, and if not paid by end of today, it's $7,196.03.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
My name is Stephen Gillenhammer.
Stephen what?
Gillenhammer.
Gillenhammer?
All right, anything else I add?
No, sir.
Thank you so much.
Just
Thank
quick
you.
question, what's your current residence?
Oh, my current where I live?
Yeah, what city? I mean-
Redlands.
Thank you.
Redlands, yes.
So you're JC Landmark LLC or a different one?
I'm Allegiant Invest. I think this is under Allegiant Property Management. I have 4 or 5 companies.
All right, no, I can't find it on the list, sorry.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next
Appreciate it.
speaker.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Whitney Knight, and I own the property at 68799 Panorama Drive in Desert Hot Springs 92240. I received a fine because I was operating an Airbnb property, which I originally started operating in 2019. I came into the City Hall office when it was a portable next door when I first started the Airbnb and asked if there was anything that I need to do. At that time, they told me that Airbnb remits the taxes to the city of Desert Hot Springs and there was nothing for me to do. I am not a full-time Airbnb host. I actually worked for Palm Springs Unified School District as an accountant for the past 10 years. So I was not aware of the changes that had happened. I received a fine, which I cannot afford to pay. I'm a law-abiding citizen and I work hard for the things that I've been able to purchase for myself, and I'm asking for the council to waive my fees.
How much?
$6,000, well, it's $5,100. And after July 2nd, it'll be $6,686.03.
Are you currently still providing STR services?
TR services?
Short-term rental services?
No, I
Thank
have
you.
shut down my Airbnb.
Thank you so much. Gentleman will be next, and if you want to be after him, feel free to come to the front row and you'll be next, sir.
So my name's David Addington, and I'm here with Lori Bowden, and the address is 66647 Pearson Boulevard. And she's been getting violations for quite some time, and first of the year I got introduced to Lori, and I've been trying to help her do some of the code violations, and we've been able to correct, I would say, 60 to 70% of her corrections. And so today we're asking if we could get the fine maybe reduced to half and then stop the code violations, and then she can get the plans resubmitted back to the city for the corrections of the last the unit, that's unit 1, and what else? Pretty much that's it.
What's the total amount you're asking to be waived?
Well, as right now, it says 8,800 and 8,800, but tomorrow it goes to 10,900.
Thank you very much.
So like half,
Thank you.
and then
You
we could stop the.
Currently live in the city? Are you guys currently living here? Or what?
I don't.
Okay, she does.
Pardon?
What did he ask?
Do you live in the city? She lives in Palm Springs.
Palm Springs.
It's a commercial property. She has a rental.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You'll let us know then?
We're going to make decisions after the public hearing.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm here to see if I can, I received a $1,000 fine.
Can you give your address and your name?
It's 66249 Avenida Barona, Desert Hot Springs.
Thank you very much.
I wasn't lighting fireworks. They gave me a ticket for lighting fireworks. They have their dash cam, they have their body cams, they can't show me. I wasn't lighting fireworks. It was my son's friend. What happened was they ran in the house, and I went out to see why the police were here, and they said somebody was lighting fireworks. I said, well, they ran in the house. And he goes, well, you're the adult here. Where's the fireworks? And I said, he goes, if I give him the fireworks, he's not going to give me a ticket. I said, okay, they're right there. And he puts them in his car, and he goes, by the way, I'm going to give you a ticket. And he writes out the ticket, and he says, sign this. I said, I'm not signing that. I wasn't lighting fireworks. He goes, well, you better sign it. I said, if not what? I wasn't lighting fireworks. Why would I sign it? He goes, well, if you don't sign it, I'm going to take you to jail. And I said, for what? He goes, for child endangerment. So I didn't want to go to jail, so I signed it. And I tried to contest it through the website or whatever, and they said ticket not found. And now they're sending letters to my owner, and I don't want to get kicked out because I cannot pay the fine. I'm not working right now. I'm on disability, and I was not lighting fireworks. Why should I pay for something that I wasn't doing?
What's the total amount you're asking to be waived?
It's $1,000.
$1,000.
Yes, sir.
Anything else to add?
No, just what do I do? Or
We're going to go through the public hearing, listen to everybody's case, and then we'll make a decision at the end of this.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak in front of the city council? Yes, sir. Please give the address you represent and your name.
Sir, good evening, everyone. My name is Moti Balyan, and I don't have the addresses, but I have the parcel numbers. There are two parcel numbers, 639.
If I may, sir, these are the two Sahara properties that are
Got it.
listed.
Thank you. That's all
Yeah.
we need to know.
Yes, sir. I'm the bona fide purchaser of this, and I'm a real estate broker. And I did all the due diligence before I put the auction. Those were put in auction by the County of Riverside through the bid for assets. So I did due diligence. I went to the county. I did all the research and all the recorded documents. And I couldn't find anything that any recorded documents by the city. So after the auction was successfully completed, then I approached the city that what I can do. And I met with Ms. Christina and one more gentleman. And then I came to know that there is a pending assessment for the demolition of the building. So, and they said after this city council hearing, then they will put the lien or the assessment. So after now, it's I'm the owner, I paid the value, and now if you put the lien on it, then it will be my violation of my constitutional right because I was not owner that time. So I requested, there are two ways I'm here to resolve the issue so I can do something on this property, otherwise it will be lying, and I don't want to be in litigation with the city. I want to be part of the community, so I want to be in good footing with everyone, with the planning, with the city, with everyone. So I requested them that instead of asking the demand letter to me, the demand letter you guys should send it to the county, and I already legally notified after discussing with the attorney that I send a letter to the county, to your city staff, and to the bid for assets to hold the money so that you guys can demand and that can be paid. I love to meet with your city attorney. I don't know who is that, so I can provide all the information so that the money is sitting with the county and you guys can claim it, and then rest like few $1,000s will be left that can be wiped out, because the amount county was on one parcel was $19,656.22 and one parcel $32,854, but totally I paid was more than $300,000. So there is quite a bit money that can satisfy the requirement of the city abatement expenses. So I'm requesting not to file a lien, not to go behind me. It's better to go behind either previous owner or go behind the county so they can, you can recover your cost. That's what my request is to the
So your request is not to waive fees, but just do not file a lien?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in front of the city council? Is there anybody else out in the foyer still discussing anything with city staff? Thank you very much, Michael. I'm going to leave the public hearing open while we still wait for those individuals to possibly come in and hear some more details on that, but I am going to go to the council discussion. I'm sure we're going to have some questions on some of these properties here. Just want to let the public know this isn't open for discussion, back and forth discussion with you. This is a discussion with city council with our staff. Unless there's a direct question for you, then we'll ask you to come up. We ask that you do not participate in our conversation with staff. We obviously have some properties here, and Christina, I don't know if you want to make comments on any of them.
So I just want to make note on the first speaker for 66961 Verbena. That case was opened in April of 2023. They were operating as an illegal short-term vacation rental. I know that he stated that that the mailings were sent to a different address. However, we had verbal communication with him that is documented in the case at the start of the case. He actually requested 2 extensions, which we provided, but he continued to operate illegally for approximately 8 months. So ultimately, he did apply for a vacation rental permit. It was denied due to non-compliance. And then at that time, he decided to remove the listings. And so he's been compliant since approximately January of this year.
What's the first fine? Because there was 4 fines put on there. So
There was 4 fines. I believe they are... $5,000, $5,000, $5,000, assuming they're all $5,000, sir.
And you said 22,501, so one might be a little higher.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next address.
So for...
Oh, I'm sorry. If you have a question on that direct one, yes, please.
Yeah, what was the original fine for? Just operating a vacation rental
An
without a
illegal
permit?
vacation rental, correct.
And the first amount on that is 5,000?
Correct.
And then each time after that it's 5,000?
Correct.
And so we mailed to an address, which is probably the property tax record, but it wasn't an address that he was regularly checking, likely?
I believe he changed his address, but failed to update it with the county assessor.
Okay, because I know I went through that with the property I have, and all my tenants were getting my notices and not giving them to me. So, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But also include that you were in communication with him the whole period of time.
We had verbal communication with him via phone.
Very well, thank you.
If there's no other questions on that one, we can move to the 4th Street.
So for 4th Street, this case has been open since August of 2022. As the property owner stated, we have met with him. We explained to him in detail that the most relevant violation to close the case is the unpermitted addition to the single-family home. Previous to that meeting, he did submit a building permit for the addition, but he never completed corrections. And so much time had elapsed at that point that we essentially deemed it, incomplete, and we archived it. When he came in, I explained that, he could go back to working through that application so that he could become compliant. I did not hear from him for several months. We did give him an extension, a 60-day extension. As he stated, he's complied with the other violations. However, he still has an expired business license for the property, and the illegal addition has not been addressed at all. 2 years is an extreme amount of time to not be able to submit building plans. The department cannot go based off of, promises by an engineer or, emails that they're working on something without something substantial being submitted to the city for us to provide correction on.
Any direct questions, Council?
Yeah, so the business license, was that one of those where you have to go online and do it? We don't mail the business licenses anymore, and I'm seeing somebody shaking their head over there.
Yes, he's had a business license previously. It's currently expired.
Okay, but he had a business license under the old system where
This existing system, online.
online, Can we hear from him?
What would you like to ask him?
I'd like to ask him, did you fill out your business license form?
You need to come forth and use the mic, please.
Sir, I got the email, and I believe I did pay that like a month ago. If you want to look at records, please. That's like a month or two ago.
How much is a fine for the business license part of it? What's the amount of that?
And the most recent fine I got had the business license wasn't on it. It was just pertaining to the permit, which I showed record that I'm trying with my engineer and architect to get that submitted. It's been submitted to the city. They have everything right now. Everything was submitted this morning. And I spoke to Daniel, and I showed him everything. He said, yes, you could submit electronically. Everything has been submitted. I'm just waiting on them for the review. It's just, it costs a lot of money to pay him. That's why it took some time. But I was in communication with her. I met with her. She said she would remove all the fine.
I think we understand. Thank you.
Okay, and the only other question I had was tenants, you're relying on tenants to maintain your property?
The thing is that the tenants, they weren't really, they didn't listen too much to me when I was asking, right? They had pit bulls, they had dogs. It was very dangerous to even get on that property. They left trash in the front. So that's why they took the pictures and fined me.
I'm just gonna, I don't know if I can say here or not, but if you are renting a property, it's ultimately your responsibility, in my view, not your tenants. Tenants don't do a good job of taking care of their property. It's rare.
But it's hard to get onto the property to maintain that, to do it.
Got that part.
Okay.
I understand. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll move to the next property.
I have Panorama listed as the next property.
Yes.
The staff is comfortable dismissing these citations.
Will you need us to dismiss it in the?
Correct.
Got it. And then the next one is the Pearson Boulevard property.
Pearson has done a substantial amount of work to the property. I mean, it is, it is beyond improved. It's a property that's very visible from the corner. It's been dilapidated for quite some time.
How long has this been ongoing?
This has been ongoing for years, and with the level of work that they've done, I am completely comfortable dismissing all of the citations.
Next property is the Avenida Barona.
Avenida Barona, this is something that I think we see every single year on assessment, where there's a subject at the property who discharges illegal fireworks, and then the property owner gets a call at the end of the year and says, oh, well, what happened, We do have that there was 2 individuals on site, subject on site, that were found discharging illegal fireworks. We've spoken to the property owner as well as the tenant. I believe they've learned their lesson. We are comfortable dismissing the citation.
And the 2 Sahara properties.
The Sahara properties, unfortunately, this is a case of someone failing to do due diligence with the city before going into an auction and purchasing the property. I spoke when I met with the property owners, the new property owners, and they did suggest that we file a claim with the county, which we intend to do to recover any outstanding costs that would be remaining. However, when I spoke with the county, what they disclosed to me is that the close of the sale of the tax auction property is not in line with our assessment. So therefore, we either assess now, or we could potentially lose the ability to recover our costs, because, as you know, when you file a claim with the county, we get in line with a bunch of other people for whatever's remaining on the sale. We decided as staff to move forward in an attempt to recover this cost, since it's a very large cost that it's not citation related, it is abatement related. This is cost that the city paid out to abate these properties.
Any further information that you need?
You're looking at me the wrong place. The amount on this one is the hundreds of thousands that we're talking about?
Yeah, so for 66705 6th Street, it's approximately $170,000, $168,427. For 11285 Mesquite, it is approximately $155,000.
Yeah, I understand the part about doing the due diligence. You should always contact the city where it is. But I would think on an amount that much that we wouldn't wait to put liens on.
Oh, we do not.
So when did we incur those abatement costs?
So I think February of 2023. So we file a notice of demolition that is recorded at the county.
But when did we actually put a lien on the property to make sure that anybody who's buying it knows?
Far before that. There's been liens on these properties probably going on 10 years every year.
Okay, so, but we do have liens for these amounts on that property, or is this the first time we're putting liens on?
So in this case, for the abatement, there was already a lien. It doesn't need to be for the amount necessarily, it needs to be for the action. So as soon as we open a case and issue the very first citation, we automatically issue a notice of pendency to the property.
Okay, what I'm trying to make sure is that there was some trigger there that when you're
Oh,
looking
yeah,
through the
absolutely.
records,
Yes.
and, you know, I understand what it is to buy those on the courthouse steps. It's a risk, and you've got to go check that out.
Yeah,
Okay,
for
thanks.
these properties, demands had been issued sometime again, mid-year this year. So we've probably issued demands for these properties a total of 4 times since they've been demolished, as the former property owner was trying to negotiate a sale.
Thank you.
Okay, go back to the public hearing at this time, and if you'd like to come forth and speak on your request, you may do so. Please, sir.
This is Jay. I have a small apartment complex on 3rd Street.
What's the address?
66163 3rd Street.
Okay.
And I'm here, first of all, I own along with my team since 2016, and it's about 8 years enjoying the business here, and code compliance is doing their part of the job. I have no issue. Part of the beautification project. But the recent fines we have received December or January, and we have done some repairs. It was for $1,500, and now if it doesn't paid, it will be double, I believe, tonight. So what I'm asking here is, as a business, small complex, we have a challenges inside and outside. And we are requesting a help from code compliance that if they can work with us instead of citing the citation, so that we can use those budget towards the repairs. We are dealing with inside challenges, eviction as needed, corrections, but as a manager, as a landlord, we have to go through the rules and regulations to clean and cure the tenant's violation at the same time.
How much are you asking the city council to waive?
Tonight, if I don't pay, it's a $1,500 to waive, and then if there's another citation was issued, to $2,200.
How much is totally on that account?
And some of the repairs we have progress, and so we have done tremendously, 20-30 grand on the electricals, water heaters, and I'm sure the code compliances agree with us that we have seen some improvements, and we are continue to do so. But if they can work with us, they can give us small target to work and cure, and we can follow up with the emails, pictures, work orders, as we have done in the past.
So what I'm understanding is you're asking the city council to waive the fines that are on the account today?
I appreciate it.
Okay.
And hope that compliance can work with us.
Okay. We do have a question from Mr. Betts.
So is this the long linear property on, that am I looking at
Yes.
the right one?
Yes.
And how many units are there?
14.
And how much do you charge rent per unit?
On an average, 750.
750? How many square foot's a unit?
400.
So you're making a pretty good income off of that, aren't you?
You have to take out the expenses. too.
Mr. Betts is kind of improper to ask
No,
that type of
because-
question. I
no,
would
because
suggest
you
that
have
that
to
we
take
don't
out
get
the
into that kind of
expenses, too.
conversation.
So my point is.
I wish, but yes, that's a goal.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to investigate whether or not we have, because we have this situation going on in this city where landlords are pulling a lot of money out and not putting anything back into their properties.
I'll be happy
And-
to see the accounting.
Huh?
But no, that's different subject. But that's, my goal is to comply with the city code department. But
I don't want this to become a back and forth, so I understand what you're asking to waive, and if you have a direct question,
I
you
got
may
my
ask the
answer,
question.
thank you.
Thank you. So any other requests from the city council today?
That's it. Thank you so much.
I
I appreciate
appreciate
your
it.
time. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else need to ask? Yes, ma'am. Please come forth. If you can name the address.
Good evening, my name is Alba Garcia. My address is 12757 Parma Drive.
What was that?
12757 Parma Drive.
And what are you asking from the city council tonight?
I would like to this fine to be dismissed because
How much total?
It's a 800. Well, now it's a 800 fine, and I called and they told me that to fix it's a flat tire. I come from LA. This is my property where I pay taxes. I didn't have no knowledge that Desert Hot Spring give you tickets for that, and I didn't know my tire was flat from the heat.
Is the tire still flat?
No, I fixed it. So, I would like, to see if you guys could dismiss it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to make a decision in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like to come forth with an address? Yes, sir. You've already spoke on the issues. Is there something
I
new?
just want to say thank you so much
Okay.
because they are told I'm going to hug everyone, but here is closed. So big hug from me and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So is there anything additional you need to add regarding that property?
Yes, sir. So again, thank you for giving me a chance. I requested Ms. Christina and Mr. Who was the, I don't see him here.
Travis
So,
Clark.
Yeah, that if there are other several parcels surrounding what two parcels I purchased and they are in bad shape, if city council can use their police power and take over those and sell to me for $1, then the whole things can be developed. That's what my request is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has not had a chance to address the city council on any fines or, any waiver request? Is there anyone else in the lobby that we know of? Can we double check before we do this? And while we're doing that, we have can you discuss the 3rd Street property?
Yeah, so 3rd Street has had 50 open cases since 2015. We have recently received so many complaints regarding this property that at my direction, I asked staff to I can give you so much history on this property because even I, as a code compliance officer, had open cases at this property every single year. These are ongoing, continuous violations of the same nature. They are things that affect the quality of life of the tenants there. They are health and safety code violations, and it is to the point where we haven't received compliance in so many years that at my direction, we opened this case as a last result before I recommended this property for receivership to the city council. That is why these citations are being issued on a regular basis. There is also an open case with Riverside County Environmental Health for their pools and the pool violations. We find these things to be detrimental to, the health and safety of the public, and for that reason, we are going very hard on this property. This is a matter of, going on 10 years of consistent, similar violations.
Any direct questions to our staff about this property? All right, we'll move to the Palmer property, or Panorama, sorry.
I'm comfortable with dismissing that. It's a minor, AVA flat tire in the front driveway.
I have no other properties on our list asking for any waivers. Does everyone get a chance to speak to us? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time, and...
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
The gentleman just left. I'm not sure if he understood that we haven't ruled yet. I'm not sure if he left.
Everybody spoke to you in the back there? Okay. Well, you'll find out. All right, so I took down some notes, so I'll try. Is there any more discussion, or I can try with a motion? All right, so I got to go back to the very first property. So they received 4 fines for STRs, but they're not operating as STR right now, or are they still illegally operating? That's, I guess, what I'm trying to
They
get.
are not operating.
Okay. I'll make a motion to relieve 3 of the 4 fines, leaving $5,000 to be leaned on that property for illegally having an STR in the city, and obviously enforce that if they continue. I'll make a motion to approve all the other liens and fines, and only waive the following addresses. Waive 68799. Is that, I wrote it down. That was the third one. Is that?
Panorama.
Panorama, thank you. 66647 Pearson, 66249 Avenida Barona, and 12757 Panorama. Is it Parma or Panorama?
Parma.
I'm sorry?
Parma.
Parma, thank you. That would be my motion.
Second.
Yeah, let's get the motion second on the screen, then please go ahead.
So the fireworks.
Yeah, I
Going
think-
easy. These fireworks are getting ready to go off all over this town.
Absolutely, and I understand when some people have to take the blame for some things that kids do that they shouldn't do. So I think this gentleman took the time to come out here today and ask for that relief, and he's not working, so I'm willing to give him dismissal on it.
Okay, so the that was sorted out that this was kids doing it and the parents didn't know?
I don't know if they were juveniles, but I believe they are relatives of the individual that spoke here tonight.
Okay, so somebody showed up, let's go to my house and light them off. Okay, got it, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I just voted, but I just want to say I agree with waiving the rest of them and leaving those three. I think it's a fair amount to pay back. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you everyone for coming out. You're more than welcome to stop and see our staff on the way out and see how we voted if you didn't understand the vote. Thank you very much. You do not have to wait around. Item 3 is a resolution adopting user fee increase for CPI adjustments of 2.09. Mr. Buckeye?
Yes, thank you. So the city charges user fees to provide certain services to, such as building permits and recreation programs. The city is allowed to charge up to 100% of the cost to provide these services, but not more than that. Not more than that. Charging user fees for services, the city can then devote more tax revenue to general services such as public safety. Since users' fees are based on the city's cost, when the costs go up due to inflation, the fees no longer cover the full cost of providing that service. That is why it is actually good practice for cities to do an annual inflationary adjustment based on consumer price index for their area. Based on the consumer price index for Riverside, the year-over-year inflationary increase was 2.9%. Therefore, the city is requesting to increase some of its user fees by 2.9%. City staff has updated the master fee schedule with the inflationary increase and provided it to the Desert Valley Builders Association and other interested parties. DVBA then responded with a request for a nexus on the city's increased costs and stated that an inflationary increase should not be applied to fees based on construction costs or other evaluations affected by inflation. City staff provided DVBA with the cost nexus and a revised master fee schedule, removing the inflationary increase from the fees. From those fees. DVBA then provided another letter supporting the city's inflationary fee increase. Approval of this resolution would allow the city to increase some of its user fees by 2.9%. The inflationary adjustment does not include fees based on valuation, aquatic center fees, some recreation fees, and the development impact fees.
Thank you very much. I have 2 council members in the queue. Did you have questions for staff before we open the public hearing? Okay, Mr. Gardner?
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Jeffrey, these all look really good, and I really appreciate how staff worked with DVBA to solve their little hiccup on that. Do you recall the last time we had an inflationary adjustment in our fees?
We have not done an inflationary adjustment on our fees since I've been here. The last time the city had done a full all fee adjustment was the user fee study in 2020, which was adopted, I think, in April or July of 2020.
So if I could then turn on a little light bulb with city management offices that let's do this every year so that we don't get this far behind and end up with a great big huge increase, and then we can keep pace with this given our financial situation and things like that. So I'd like to see us do this at least every year or every other year if we possibly can. But great job on this, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Please.
So that last fee increase you're talking about, that's when we increased about $654,000 overall, right?
That was what the consultant estimated the city would receive as when we redid the fees.
Okay, so that was a $654,000 increase back then. That was a huge jump. I think it was like, if I remember, 15%, something like that. Huge number.
It was a large amount. I don't remember the percentage.
Okay, and these are those same categories here with a inflationary adjustment of 2.5%.
Yes.
Or 2.9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have any other comments by council. We'll open the public hearing and take any testimony in favor, opposed, or neutral position. Would anybody like to speak on this item? We'll close the public hearing at this time, and Mr. Betts?
Thank you. I'm just going to say I'm looking at the world out there and what it's costing to go to the market. You know, I used to get my mom she liked the TV dinners that were 99 cents. Now they're $1.89. Everything is up, up, up. We had a huge increase way back when on these fees. And while I looked at these and I thought 2.9% isn't a lot, especially when I looked at some of the fees, but somebody goes, gets a fix-it ticket at the police department or goes and makes a permit for a food vendor license, you know, it just keeps adding up. And I don't think it's the time, and I do appreciate Councilmember Gardner's comments about not letting it get out of hand. But I think given the inflationary pressures right now on the public, that we could probably forego this small increase to do our part on inflation. So my vote will be no.
Any other comments? Ms. Pye?
I want to move that we adopt a resolution of the City Council adopting the user fee increase for CPI adjustment of 2.9.
I'll second.
There's a motion, a second. Any more discussion?
No, and I recognize that we are facing some inflationary pressure, but if we don't increase this, fees only cover the cost of providing the service. The city is not making money on this. The city is not adding to our general fund. We're covering our costs. Otherwise, we have to pull money from our general fund to cover the shortage because we're not keeping up with inflation. So we need to keep up with inflation. My vote is going to be yes.
All right, we'll move to the vote. Please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Betts opposed.
Move to item number 4 is Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District Number 1, Levy and Collections of Assessments to Fund Improvements for Fiscal Year 24-25. This is a citywide LLMD. Will you be participating? Yes. Did you want to check the map?
Excuse me? Okay, all right.
All right, Mr. Buckheim?
Yes, I'll have our finance manager, Tiffany Verduzco, doing the staff report.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So before you, I have a resolution to adopt the collection and assessment to fund improvements for fiscal year 24-25. This is for Lighting Maintenance District Number 1. Maintenance and operation of this district includes such things as sidewalks, trees, streetlights, parks, parkways, and all the costs associated with the maintenance and services to this district. On May 21st, City Council declared its intention via adoption of the resolution to levy the collection of assessments to the parcels within District Number 1. And this was based on the engineer's report that was provided to assess the cost. On or before June 21st, there was notice given to the owners within District Number 1 that a public hearing would be held today, July 2nd, where the city could consider the proposed levy and assessments per the engineer's report. The existing levy generates $561,269.28 for properties within Zone A and $10,424.67 for Zone B. Approval of the attached resolution will require that the improvements in District 1 be carried out. The county auditor enters the amount of the levy onto the property tax roll. And failure to place the levy on the tax rolls would require decreasing, removing, closure, or abandonment of District Number 1. Fiscal impact, according to the engineer's report, for fiscal year 24-25 would be $1,672,033. The total annual levy will be $571,691.94. That difference would be subsidized for the fund improvements coming from general fund. That would be $1,341.06. And that concludes my staff report.
Mr. Mayor, before we go any further, I got a question on recusal. Okay. So this, I'm looking at a map and it says LMD 1 Zone A, which I don't see on the title of the agenda item 4, and then I see was mentioned LMD 1 Zone B. Are we talking about LMD 1 Zone B in this motion?
Just so you get, Zone A is citywide, it's all parks, medians, and everything. Zone B is just a median strip from Palm.
Okay, but is this motion include LMD
Yes,
1 Zone B? Then
Zone
I have
A
to
and B,
recuse.
so it's the entire LMD.
My wife and I own a hair salon at 12084 Palm Drive, which is located right in the middle of Zone B, so I will recuse.
Yes, but I need to wait for him to leave.
No, I just wondered if it was. It's not reflecting on my screen.
It is. Or it was.
Technology, you gotta love it, right?
No, it's not working on my end. Do you have a question for staff? Go ahead.
So, on this particular LMD, I know with the next batch as well, but with LMD 1, zones A and B, the assessment does not cover the cost of the maintenance that is required in that. What's the difference right now?
The difference is $1,1,341.06.
So we're under collecting by 1.1 million. We're dipping into the general fund for that. That's not sustainable. We know that. We've got to address that again. We've kicked this can down the road a couple of times. So we've got to really address it coming up fairly soon. So just wanted to put that one out on there. Thank you.
And just to add to that, when addressing it means we need to think about solutions to continue to maintain the current status, not stop maintaining that.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions before we open the public hearing? All right, at this time, we'll open the public hearing. We'll take testimony in favor, opposed, or neutral position. Would anybody like to speak to the city council? See nobody coming forth, I will close the public hearing, and if we have no more discussion, we'll entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt the Lighting Landscape Maintenance District 1, Zone A and B assessments.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Well, Mr. Betts joined us back in the room. We're going to open items 5 and 6, and then we're going to, sorry, there was an echo coming from that room there. Items 5 and 6, and then we're going to draw some straws. So myself, Mr. Nunez, and Mr. Betts will have recusals on this item. Item 5 is Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District Number 2, Levy and Collections of Assessments to Fund Improvements for fiscal year 24-25. And then Drainage Assessment Number 1, District Number 1, Levy and Collections of Assessments to Fund Improvements for fiscal year 24-25. Those two items will be taken by the remaining 3 council members. Mr. Siriano. What are we doing today? Are we? So the black tipped straws will recuse. Got it. Okay. Okay. Well, we don't really need to know then. Mr. Nunez and I'm recusing because my home is within district landscaping lighting maintenance district, I believe 14, of my personal residence. Ms. Pye.
I recuse for the same reasons.
Ms. Pye, it's all yours. And as soon as we're done with this and you vote, can you just gavel break for 5 minutes?
Okay. Staff report.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. So this would be for Lighting Maintenance District Number 2. This contains 18 zones. It's also for the cost and maintenance of this district. On May 21st, City Council declared its intention via adoption of the resolution to levy for the collection of assessments with the parcels within this district and these zones. And on or before June 21st, in accordance with applicable law, it was noted to the property owners within District 2 that a public hearing would be held today, July 2nd, where the City Council would consider the proposed levy and assessment. Attached is the engineer's report and breaking out the cost associated with the maintenance and services provided to this district with these 18 zones. Approval of the attached resolution will require the improvements in District 2 to be carried out and that the county auditor enters the amount of the levy on the property tax roll. Failure to place the levy on the tax rolls would require decreasing or even closure or abandonment of this district. And the fiscal impact is provided in the staff report. It provides a table with all the zones outlined, the cost per parcel assessment, the equivalent dwelling units within there, and the total cost per zone, for a grand total of $341,801 for Lighting Maintenance District Number 2. It is staff recommendation that the resolution be adopted to levy these parcels.
Thank you. Go.
Again, on this one, we're still under collecting on all of these zones, are we not?
No, this one we are not under collecting. There will be no subsidized transfer from general fund. This is the assessment to maintain this district.
Okay, thank you.
You have a question?
Yes.
Go.
Yeah, I heard that come up last time when I recused, and this is for the individual landscaping. For example, I see Sunset Springs where I live. And so the $13,512 is divided amongst all the homes in Sunset Springs to do the community maintenance along the, wherever, trimming the trees, everything else. And I want to say that polling my neighbors, they're all very happy with the service that they're getting. It looks nice, thank you. And so rather than the residents having to take up this effort to maintain their parcels, this is what funds that. I remember when I was growing up, the neighborhood, we were responsible as kids because the city didn't do it to go down and take care. You know, that was getting kids to go do the landscaping. It never looked great. So anyhow, just to clarify that point, there is no deficit here. This is a direct cost of maintenance and
Yes, that is correct.
and applied to the homes.
Correct.
And
And that is per, each zone has the amount that's applied to.
And if anybody in the residences had any concerns, they could go audit what the, you know, it's 13,000, it's 1,000 a month, a little over 1,000 a month for all that landscaping. It doesn't seem exorbitant to any of us in the city or in the neighborhood. So, what's the city share? We make money on everything. What % of this do we get? Do we get an administrative fee?
Yes, the city does receive administrative fee. It depends on the size and the amount of the assessment, but it's a smaller percentage.
It's like 30%?
No, much less than 10.
Okay, so there is a city fee for maintaining this, but that's also a direct cost.
Yes, that's for staff costs for administering these, the maintenance, so like, you know, doing the contracts and that type of thing.
And the last question is, this is just for the cost associated with it. Some other future date, we put these out to bid for other companies to come and offer bidding on these, right, at a different date. That's not today.
Correct. So we actually had several months ago, we actually brought before council, this Public Works did proposals for maintenance contracts, and we brought before council for who the city chose to do the maintenance, the contract of that. So we do that. Yes, this is not. We've done that before. We just have a new contract that started, and then once that contract comes up, we'll go through the proposals again.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I open the public hearing. Is there anyone in favor, opposed, or neutral? I close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt the budget and the assessment for landscape lighting and maintenance district number 2.
Second.
Vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 6, Drainage Assessment District Number 1, Levy and Collection of Assessment to Fund Improvements for Fiscal Year 24-25. Staff report.
Evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. So before you is the Drainage Assessment District Number 1. This is for levy and collection of assessments to fund improvements for fiscal year 24-25. This is to fund expenses for operating, maintaining, and servicing the improvements within the district. The general process of annually funding the district requires Webb Municipal Finance to prepare an annual engineer's report declaring the cost of the improvements. And for the improvements that are within this district, may include but are not limited to flood control facilities, graffiti removal, masonry walls, and anything pertinent to the street facilities. Services provided include all necessary service, operation, administration, and maintenance required to maintain the improvements. Failure to place the levy on the tax rolls will require decreasing certain district service levels, including the closure or abandonment of the district itself. For the fiscal impact, the annual assessment February 1st of each fiscal year after base year 2004-2005, the maximum amount of each assessment shall be increased by 2%. The district information requirements specifically provide the maximum assessment shall be increased each fiscal year, computed on the previous fiscal year's maximum assessment. In front of you on the staff report is the table providing the assessments for drainage assessment district number 1 for all 17 zones. It breaks out by parcel assessment for a total in each of those zones, a grand total of $225,165.30. And this is fully funded, also no transfer from general fund. And that concludes the staff report.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council? Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone in favor, opposed, or neutral position? I close the public hearing and request a motion.
I move we adopt the assessments for Drainage District 2.
Is there a second?
So many of us left.
Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. At the request of the mayor, we are adjourning for 5 minutes. Recessing.
1 minute warning for the city council, please. All right, I got the full city council back. We're going to call the meeting back to order, and we're going to head into our last item here on the administrative calendar, item number 7, which is a resolution calling for and giving notice of a general municipal election to be held in the city of Desert Hot Springs on November 5th, 2024 for the Desert Hot Springs Fiscal Stability Local Control Measure, and authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract amendment with the Lou Edwards Group in an amount not to exceed $68,500 for the extension of consulting agreement for a municipal election informational services. And that was a mouthful. Ms. Whelm.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. One of the fastest growing cities in the region, the population of Desert Hot Springs has increased by over 25% in the last 10 years alone. Businesses have also increased in that time, leading to an increased need for basic services. Also during that time, the state has taken away local funds and handed down unfunded mandates to the city costing millions, and the cost of providing basic services has risen significantly. This need has not gone unnoticed by local residents, as in a recent resident survey, 73% of respondents agreed that the city is in need of additional funding. The city also conducted significant community outreach over the past year to obtain resident input on services. We thank the over 500 residents who provided input on their priorities, which was utilized extensively by the city in formulating this recommendation. Public safety, 911 response, preventing budget and road closures, addressing homelessness, and keeping the public areas safe and clean were among the top priorities of the respondents. In addition to increased demand for services, the cannabis industry has experienced difficulty over the past several years. This led to a significant reduction in the amount of cannabis taxes collected by the city. At the same time, the city is experiencing increases in annual expenditures in order to continue providing the core city services that residents have told us are important to them. In order to balance the budget, staff made significant changes to the city's expenditures totaling $3.1 million in direct budget cuts. These changes included the reduction of contract services in the city council, city attorney, and compliance departments. The city also reduced its workforce by eliminating 15 full and part-time positions. Long-term, as the state of California enters into what may be a multi-year budget deficit, the city of Desert Hot Springs must be self-reliant in securing a source of local funding that cannot be taken away by Sacramento or prepare for deeper cuts to basic services soon. Placing a locally controlled measure on the ballot is a key issue for the council to consider. The city's financial projections do not have adequate funding to meet key and basic community needs. To help meet these needs, staff is seeking direction from the City Council on whether to move forward with a sales tax measure for the November 2024 ballot for local voter consideration. As council is aware, placing such a measure on the ballot does not constitute a vote by the council on such a measure, but rather whether the voters should be given the opportunity to decide if an additional locally controlled sales tax measure is an appropriate action to provide additional funding to meet community needs. Staff recommends the City Council adopt the resolution calling for and giving notice of a general municipal election to be held in the City of Desert Hot Springs on November 5th, 2024 for the Desert Hot Springs Fiscal Stability Local Control Measure. City Council adoption is needed to meet the county filing deadline of August 9th, 2024 to place the measure on the ballot for the next available general municipal election date of November 5th. Additionally, council is being asked to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract amendment with the Lou Edwards Group in an amount not to exceed $68,500 for the extension of the consulting agreement for municipal election informational services. Currently, the sales tax rate in the city of Desert Hot Springs is at the state minimum of 7.75%. 1% is allocated to the city, while the other 6.75% goes to the state and other agencies. An additional 1 cent to the sales tax within the city limits is estimated to provide an additional $2.4 million in revenue to the city depending on sales tax activity. That concludes my staff report, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Yes, so this is not a public hearing, so we're going to take public comments first, Mr. Anderson. And my cue's not working again, Gerald, just for... I did, it's not working. It keeps coming up because there was a vote made earlier and I couldn't make the vote, so. Sorry, Mr. Anderson, go ahead.
Turn your mic on.
Turn my mic on. Thank you. Hi, my name is Brad Anderson. I currently live in the city of Ransom Ross, and I would be opposed to this. I don't think this is a good move for the city. Again, there's nothing wrong with asking taxpayers, and this is what you're doing, but you're also put in depth. You know, you're asking for amendment to a certain contractor for $68,000 plus. So that's money you will never get back if this happens to fall down, meaning that the voters don't approve of it. I fear, I know Palm Springs, I don't shop in Palm Springs just because the sales tax is so high. And you will be putting yourself, you're this city, in that category for investments. Anything that, anybody that would, dog food would be, that's something I spend a lot of money on, so that would be an issue. I don't hear you saying that the tourism would be paying. I think Palm Desert just tried or is doing the same thing, and that's their 70% of their people that pay sales taxes apparently out of the city. That would be good for this statement to help you promote this, but I just, in Palm Springs, they want to extend the J6 money, that 1% that I was talking about, to, well, they want to take the sunset clause away, which is due in 38, 2038. And I understand why you're doing this at this time, and that ACA1, the constitutional amendments, it's going to make it so this will never go away. Possibly it's going to be very hard for voters to take this away. And also in your language here that you said when the voters vote to remove it, or I forget the wording, but there's going to be bonds involved. I'm sure there'll be aspects that voters just can't simply do that. So like I said, it's nothing wrong with asking the voters, but I just know the hardships that people are having. They will not vote this in unless you promote this in a different manner. And the language on this is really off too, so you may want to correct that. You have 1C. I mean, I know what that is, but most people wouldn't, and there's some typos in there too. So I'm not an expert on this, but I would definitely rewrite this. I guess I hit all my talking points. I'm not in favor of this. I don't think most people would. So I just hate to see you spend $68,000 that you'll never get back. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on this item? Close public hearing this time. Mr. Betts, you're in the queue.
Thanks. My question is 1C. Is that a proper way to represent 1 cent? Doesn't it supposed to have a line through it?
Well, 1 cent is how it's historically represented. It's 1%, but 1 cent is synonymous.
Okay, I'm just, typographically, it looks like there's an error here, 1C, that's not my main comment here, but since Brad brought it up, eagle eye on the...
Yeah. So what I would say to that is when we have the ballot question, it's very specific on the number of words that you're allowed to use, and so our consultant, this is their recommended language that they've recommended for us to use.
But there is a symbol for cent, which is a C with a line through it. So that's not gonna add your words anyhow, that's off in the detail. So please, my point is, please check for typos, and that one is, you could probably pull another word out and keep that one in as a cent. Anyhow, my main comment here is, so what we're doing here, notwithstanding all the staff report, is we're doing two things here. We are authorizing $68,500 to the Lou Edwards Group, and they are going to guide us through this process to make sure we aren't making missteps. It's a very complicated process. And the other thing we're doing is we're putting out to the voters whether or not they want to do this. And so our decision here is just to authorize for the voters to make a decision. And I think that we have did sufficient polling to get an indication that there's enough voters out there that want to see this on the ballot, and ultimately then it's up to all of them. This isn't something that we're imposing.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any comments? Yeah, as stated before, I don't disagree with giving the public the opportunity when we're looking at building our reserves over the next many years. This gives them the opportunity to make that decision as voters in our community. Almost every city in the Coachella Valley now has a 1 cent sales tax on their sales, so there's not very many places you can shop today and not already spend that. So if people are willing to spend 60 cents of every dollar outside our community and spend that there, on every $100 that you spend on goods, it's $1 more that you're going to spend on giving back to the tax. So it'll be a decision that the voters have to make. So I have no problem with that. Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will concur with that. We have been fortunate to get by in this city without having to have a sales tax for some time, and I think that time has unfortunately closed. This is putting it forward to our voters in our city who will make that decision. It is our voters in our city, not people from other cities that are coming out here to tell us what to do in our city. Our residents get to decide this, and so I'm highly in favor of putting this on the ballot for our residents to make that decision.
Ms. Pye, go ahead.
Also, we have to fully, should this pass, we would have to fully disclose what we're doing, much like the utility tax. And so if it is voted in, I would request that we do it the same way we do it with the utility tax, that when the auditor does it, they tell us whether or not we spent it properly.
Anyone else?
I'll make a motion then that we put forth the resolution calling for and giving notice for the municipal election for this particular tax measure.
Get a second, then Mr. Betts. Is there a second? I'm sorry? Are you going to second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second, moved by Mr. Gardner, second by Ms. Pye. Mr. Betts?
Yeah, I just want to be clear. The utility user tax, or these taxes specify how it's to be used. This is generally for the general fund. So Councilmember Pye's comments are not limiting this tax. I mean, that's not in this motion.
That's correct. So this tax that's, the measure that's being proposed would not be for a specific use. It would be a general sales tax measure.
Okay, so and which is what I favor, go straight into the general fund. If they're unhappy with the way we're spending it, there's lots of ways they can let us know that. This is not restricted funds. We got enough of those.
That's correct.
Okay, so just be clear on that.
No further discussion, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Nothing pulled from the consent calendar. Move to public comments. I do have one public comment. Someone didn't speak at the beginning of the meeting, Mr. Griffin.
Hi everyone, I'm Elliot Lou Griffin, and today I'm here to talk about the homeless project. Really, I'm asking for a working lunch with the mayor's office, because I could come to the mayor and I can ask, for something and somebody else might not go with it. If we get like 3 people on board, so I could bring all my ideas in here. I did submit proposals talking about 2 additional cooling centers. We're in triple-digit heat right now. We have 125 homeless at least. The cooling center that we do have, it's available during the daytime. The people do complain about it being like hard seats, and the second that they do like get to go to sleep, they lean back. The people come wake them up, tell them there's no sleeping in here. So we wanted to try to propose a couple, at least 1 additional cooling center. I've been looking at the Coachella Valley Bargain Center that they just closed. I know I talked to them, they wanted $10,000 a month. There's a couple other ones that's available for lease right now. If we could just lease a building, get some chairs where, recliners. I do have a couple proposals going for that. Also about the actual residents. What are we gonna do for their residency? I did submit a proposal about doing a trailer park, and believe it or not, I know it doesn't sound too appealing and pleasing, but it's very affordable. It beats out the tiny homes. I know we had $2.5 million for the homeless project that we could spend. I'll be bringing a proposal asking that you could spend it with Make America Amazing. I've been looking at a couple of properties over here that would sustain 125 RV parks. And then, like I said, that would just get the people into sustainable housing that actually has shelter, has AC, has refrigerators, has stoves, and to get them off the streets. You know, of course, we have to go and do all the permits. I know it probably takes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, but we could get it done by the end of the year if we started today. So I'm just asking for a working lunch on that. Maybe next week, this week, I could bring all my ideas. I could show you the cooling center that I'm looking into. We just got a bunch of stuff going that we want to see what we could get the city actually interested in, because we have to do something a little bit more. You know, it's triple digits out here. I talked about the grants real fast, and we just hired somebody to put something on the proposal, but we are talking about maybe potentially hiring, you know, to do grant proposals for the city, for sidewalks, for you name it. So I just asked if I could get a working lunch with you guys so I could bring all my ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. There's 3 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you. Does anybody else in the audience that hasn't spoken public comments? Before we adjourn, just want to let everyone know that the Planning Commission, Public Safety Commission, and City Council are dark for the rest of July. And I'm not sure about the commissions in August, but the City Council is also dark in August. Our next meeting will be in September, unless there's something that forces us to need to have a special meeting. This meeting is adjourned.